Hi, and welcome to the replay of the Fear to Freedom webinar. This is where I walk you through how fear shows up in our relationships with horses, what it really is telling us, and how we can begin to move through it. Not with pressure, but with awareness, sensitivity, and a calm guidance. Now, whether you missed the live or just want to revisit it, you're in the right place. If you're interested in how we can show up more honestly and effectively for our horses and for ourselves, then this is for you. And if this speaks to you, don't forget to hit subscribe and tap the bell so that you are the first to know when I release more tools, tips, and real conversations to support you and your horse on this journey. Hi, everybody. So we are almost ready to get going. I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes to see, to give the opportunity for somebody else to join. So hello and welcome to the Fear to Freedom webinar. This session is recorded, so please turn off your videos if you don't want to be seen. That's entirely okay. And for the presentation, I'd really like to ask you to turn your mics off so that I can get through the presentation without interruptions. You obviously take any notes that you want as we go through. You can put questions in the chat, but I'm going to come to that at the end. For now, we will get going with the presentation. But first, I just want to introduce myself a little bit and why I put this webinar together and the full course, which is following on from this. In my work with people, the one thing that comes up time and time again is fear. And not necessarily fear of being bucked off or physically hurt, although that is an element of it, of course, but more to do with the fears that bubble slowly underneath. Am I good enough? Am I going to do harm? Am I doing the right thing? Am I going to be judged? Particularly for when people are taking an alternative path. They feel that their peer group, that they are disconnecting from and reconnecting with a different method, different thought process, different mindset. That pullback of safety and security, a bit like the herd. We like what is familiar. We feel secure in what is familiar. So that fear, particularly, is something that I come across time and time again, and that's why I put this together, because I've also felt it, I've also lived it, and I've also come to understand it. Particularly when in front of our horses, do we feel that we are enough for them? Do we have enough experience, enough skill, enough knowledge? And all of that, for me, motivates me to go and learn. And I would like for this webinar to give you that motivation, to open those doors in your mind, to be able to say, yes, you know, I am good enough. I just need to find a pathway through it. So first of all, I'm going to start presenting. And hopefully you can all see that. So, like I said, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you here. This webinar, the introduction to Fear to Freedom, is about how to work with fear instead of fighting it, and how to transform it into trust with your horse. So I've spent years guiding horse people toward deeper trust-based connections with their horses, moving beyond fear and control into a partnership that feels authentic and mutual. And today I will share a few foundational insights to help you recognize and work with fear, both in yourself, because it always starts with us, and in your horse, to transform it into trust and confidence, which is really important, but honest confidence. Let's get started. I'm just going to skip the table of contents. So what to expect in this webinar? Well, first of all, this is not a lecture. It is a journey into understanding what fear is and how it affects horse-human relationships. You won't be asked to be brave or get over it. All you need is to turn up. Turn up for yourself, turn up for your horse. Fear is asking you to turn up and take the next step. So what will you learn today here? And what will you understand by the end of this session? So in this Fear to Freedom webinar, you will gain valuable insights and practical steps to help you move beyond fear and into a space of calm, intuitive connection with your horse. We are going to cover what fear actually is, both biologically and emotionally, how to understand the roots of fear and recognize how it manifests in you and your horse, and introduce simple, effective methods to release it in a healthy way. So this introductory session is designed to help you understand the purpose of fear as a safety tool and how it becomes limiting when we stay stuck in it. We will discuss how fear travels between you and your horse and learn how to identify subtle fear signals in yourself and your horse and respond with calm clarity. Discover grounding and breathing techniques to release tension and build mutual trust. I'm going to begin shifting from a mindset of control to a mindset of connection using intuitive methods. And also we're going to learn when you can start to shift from fear to presence and embrace fear as an ally. Understand how fear functions to protect you and your horse and how acknowledging it can create a safer, more aware relationship. We are going to work on recognizing fear signals early. We're developing skills to notice the early signs of tension and fear in both yourself and your horse, allowing you to respond before anxiety escalates. Building a connection-based approach shifts from a managing behaviors ideal to a nurturing a deeper connection based on trust and mutual respect. And this is going to lay foundation for a more harmonious relationship. So this webinar will give you the initial tools and perspective shift needed to start transforming fear into freedom with your horse. So fear is a messenger, an instinctive nudge reminding us to be alert and aware. But when we let it linger and take the reins, it can build walls that keep us from connection. Freedom comes when we learn to hear fear's message, thank it, and let go. So I have dedicated my career to guiding horse enthusiasts just like you toward a deeper, more intuitive relationship with their horses. I am passionate about showing how we can learn as much from our horses as they can learn from us. So why? Why did I create this webinar? Well, I touched on that a little bit in the introduction, but I created this Fear to Freedom webinar because I have seen how fear can keep both horses and humans locked in a cycle of tension and miscommunication. I know what it's like to feel fear and hide it. I have lived it. For many horse people, fear doesn't come from a lack of love or commitment, but from the uncertainty of how to build a trusting, intuitive partnership with their horse without relying on control or force. I know how many well-meaning horse people are quietly struggling, and I believe that fear, when understood, can become a powerful ally, a guide that points us toward awareness and safety. But when we're stuck in fear, we often lose sight of our horse's signals and also our own intuition, our gut feeling, which are key to a harmonious connection. I wanted to support your journey towards a harmonious connection. This course is designed to help you shift from a mindset of fear and control to one of calm connection and confidence. Through simple but profound tools, you'll learn to read fear for what it is, information, without letting it drive your actions. And lastly, but not least, this work matters. My goal is to support you in building a relationship where both you and your horse feel safe, understood, and free to move forward together. So what is fear and how does it impact us? So let's begin with something we all know, but often don't stop to truly understand about fear. Fear is not the enemy. Fear gets a bad name, but in truth, fear is not the enemy. Fear is a natural survival response. It's a built-in biological survival mechanism. In the wild, fear is what keeps a horse alive. Their heightened senses picked up on the slightest shift in their environment, a snapping twig, a flicker of movement, a change in the wind. In an instant, they're ready to flee. Their entire body responds, not because they're thinking, but because they're wired to survive. And we're not so different. In humans, it can protect or paralyze us. As humans, we carry the same wiring. Fear can protect us. It alerts us to danger. It gets our attention when something doesn't feel right. It sharpens our senses and prepares us to respond. But here's where it gets tricky. When fear becomes chronic, when it's not about a real immediate threat, but more about uncertainty, pressure, or past experiences, it starts to work against us. It doesn't just keep us safe, it keeps us stuck. So let's take a moment to understand what's actually happening in the brain and in the body. So fear is triggered by the amygdala. When we feel fear, a small almond-shaped part of our brain called the amygdala lights up, and it's like our fear center. Once triggered, it sends signals to release adrenaline and cortisol, and those are our stress hormones, which are designed to help us react quickly. Your heart rate increases, your breathing gets shallow, and muscles tighten. You feel hot, shaky, or frozen. And this is the fight or flight response. It's automatic, and in truly dangerous situations, it's incredibly useful, as it prepares your body to react fast. And all this creates a postural shift in our bodies. Our rib cages close. The chest often collapses slightly inwards. The shoulders may hunch forward, and breathing becomes shallow, like I say, and high up in the chest instead of deep by the diaphragm. And this gives us a sense of protecting the heart and lungs, just like animals do when they curl up or flatten their posture when scared. In a felt sense, the rib cage closes or contracts as we prepare to protect the vital organs. At the same time, our hips loosen, or ready for action is probably a better way of putting it. The hip joints may feel looser, more fluid, but not in a relaxed way, but in a ready to spring kind of way. The body lowers its center of gravity slightly. Think about crouching, ready to pounce or to flee. And this makes it easier for us to either run or pivot, just like a horse does when they shift their weight just before a bolt. So while the rib cage tightens to protect, the hips may feel more mobile, even if the muscles around them are tense. It's about prepared movement. And these changes in particular give us away, as horses notice this, whether we are walking beside them or especially if we're riding them. But when fear is happening often, when it is simmering in the background or being triggered by memories, self-doubt, or social pressure, it starts to take a toll. Chronic fear and stress can suppress your immune system, reduce your ability to think clearly or make good decisions, keep you in a reactive loop where everything feels like too much, which keeps your breath shallow, hold tension and stuckness that leads to physical pain, and fuels disconnection from ourselves, others around us, but particularly from our horses. And this is why you might freeze up when your horse spooks, or why you blank out when things go wrong. It's not because you're weak or incapable, it's because your body is responding exactly as it is designed to do. But here is the powerful difference. We can learn to notice, to breathe, and to respond differently. And that's what makes this fear to freedom possible. As you know, and already mentioned, ReWild coaching relies on the lessons nature holds for us. In nature, fear isn't a problem, it's information. It rises, it alerts, and once the danger passes, it dissipates. Horses don't hold fear. A wild horse doesn't stay braced for hours. They don't replay the moment over and over in their heads. They shake it off, literally, and return to grazing. But humans, we hold on, we replay, we anticipate, we analyze. The fear gets stored in our bodies and nervous system, and without support, we don't get the natural release that other animals do, which is why understanding and working with fear matters so much. We can learn from them. We need to learn and lean into the lessons our horses give us. So why does fear show up around horses? So connecting this to our horses, you might be wondering why fear is such an epidemic, should I say, in a lot of our horsemanship. First and foremost, because horses are incredibly sensitive. They notice everything about us, and that is a very vulnerable feeling. Horses sense everything. Breath, posture, energy. They pick up on things before we're even aware of them ourselves. Our breathing, our muscle tension, our posture, like I said, and our intention. They read us constantly, not with judgment though, but with clarity. Our fear becomes their fear. If we're carrying fear, they feel it. And because they're wired for survival, our fear becomes their concern. They may become anxious, distracted, hesitant, not because they're being difficult, but because we've unknowingly started the ripple. You might have noticed this. The moment you second guess yourself, your horse becomes less sure too. We get into an escalating loop. And remember, it's not weakness, it's communication. It's not failure, it's feedback. So whatever your horse is saying, listen. As I say, we are not failing. Instead, we are wired for survival. Fear doesn't mean you're failing. And it doesn't mean you have to get rid of fear. It means you can start learning to meet it differently. Because when you can regulate, your horse can rest. It's important that we explore the positive side of fear. Fear is a sign your system is trying to protect you. How it moves through you, how it speaks, and how you can walk alongside it instead of being run by it. And with awareness, we can shift it, no matter how heavy we feel it is. So what are the key elements of actually moving from fear to freedom? When we regulate, our horses relax. It starts with noticing. And we should not be fighting fear. We should be walking alongside it. So let's talk about the part most of us don't want to admit. We don't like fear. We try to control it, push it away, or cover it up with confidence we don't really feel. But why we fight fear and why that doesn't work is what we're going to cover now. So the common ways we resist fear. We've all done it. We feel fear start to rise, and we do everything we can to not feel it. And the common ways we resist fear are tension or control. We tense up. We start giving more commands. We talk louder, move faster, or freeze entirely, hoping the moment will pass. Or there is the over-preparation. Maybe we over-prepare, which in fact is another form of control. We micromanage our horse, ourselves, or the environment to try and stay safe. Or we avoid or create distractions. Tomorrow will be a better day. But we can't leave fear behind. We carry it if we don't acknowledge it. Or, lastly, we choose a polarizing path. We freeze by doing nothing at all or push through doing everything we can, both with negative consequences for us and our horses. I want to be really clear here. None of these ways of resisting fear is a flaw in us. This is our survival brain doing its job, trying to protect us. But here's what happens when we keep fighting fear. Fear intensifies. Fear likes to be heard and understood. If we try to fight it or ignore it, it's going to get louder. We get more tense. Our horses feel it, they become uncertain too, and instead of connection, we both brace. The connection breaks. What started as a flicker of doubt can turn into a full-blown breakdown in trust, not because we're bad or failing, but because we're trying to fight something that was never meant to be fought. And the end result is erosion of trust. Fear isn't the enemy, it's a message. And when we ignore it, suppress it, or force it away, it just gets louder. What if instead of resisting fear, we met it? Not with force, not with analysis, but with awareness over avoidance. This is what I call the power of presence. So I want to share with you a story of a client of mine and a situation that she found herself in. She was freezing at the mountain block, trying to act calm with that fake it till I make it type cover. Her heart was racing and her horse would begin dancing. And she said to me, I think he knows I can't handle this. So after some in-depth conversations, we didn't start with coaching advice. We didn't start with lunging or anything that projected this moment onto the horse, as the horse was merely responding to the dialogue she was having. We instead started with noticing the freeze, her freeze, with breathing, with giving space for what was rising instead of pretending it wasn't there. She didn't push through it. She paused. And because she stayed with herself, her horse could stay with her. And this simple solution was the answer her horse was looking for. And this is why breath before action is so important. With noticing, by acknowledging what was happening inside before she even stepped on the block, way back even before she even collected her horse, we could begin the shift. And slowly things shifted. Not because she forced herself to be brave, but because she stayed with herself instead of abandoning herself to the fear. Her horse noticed, he began to soften too, and they became a unit again. So in this moment, I would just like you to join me in a really deep breath. Take a really deep breath in and notice the effects that it has on your body. So here's the truth. Fear doesn't have to disappear for connection to happen. You don't have to be fearless to be effective. So she still had those concerns, but she met them where they could be understood. So you just have to be present. Because when you're present, your horse can trust you, not because you're perfect, but because you are real. And that's what horses are drawn to, real, grounded presence. And stillness creates space. The space for understanding in the dialogues that we are wanting to have. So from the horse's perspective, horses read the truth. They trust grounded presence, not fake confidence. And presence keeps you safe. So when you can begin the shift? Well, that doesn't make any sense. So when can you begin the shift? The first steps towards freedom. So when does the shift happen? It starts in the quiet moments. The shift doesn't have to happen in a big firework display or a big breakthrough or a dramatic moment. It starts quietly and often invisibly. It's the moment you notice your breath when your horse lifts their head. It's when you soften your shoulders instead of gripping the lead rope tighter. And it's when you stay instead of stepping away emotionally or physically. The shift begins when you stop trying to eliminate fear and start trying to understand it. Presence, not perfection, is what makes the difference. It's about changing your relationship to the moments. Moments of fear become moments of learning. And then fear suddenly is confidence. So nature doesn't force, it flows. So this is really important to recognize. In nature, change is rarely loud. It doesn't rush. Think of a river. It doesn't argue with the rock in its way. It flows around it. It keeps moving, calm, persistent, and clear. And that's what working with fear looks like. You don't need to push through or fight harder. You need to find your flow, the way forward that feels steady, grounded, and possible to you. So let's look at the science of change, or neuroplasticity. Our brains are capable of rewiring. This is called neuroplasticity, and it's real. And I say this as we need to be very careful with theory, particularly human theories applied to horses. Fear pathways are just that, pathways. So when fear has been your default response, your brain has built a fast track to panic or avoidance. But the moment you pause, breathe, or choose differently, you're laying down a new path. Through repetition, we can create new ones. I like to think of it like a trail through tall grass. Walk it once, it's barely visible. Walk it every day, the path becomes the way forward. And this is neuroplasticity in action. And that's the shift, one conscious moment at a time. When do you begin? Well, there is no right day, no magic fix. The shift starts when you decide to meet fear differently. So now, it could be today, it could be in 5 minutes, or when you step into the field the next time. It could be in the next moment of tension. It could be tomorrow morning when you check your horse without dread, but with curiosity. It could be in the next breath that you take before action. And it could be in the next choice to listen rather than react. The key is not waiting for fear to go away. It's choosing to respond to fear with awareness right where you are. And that's when freedom becomes possible, not from fear, but with it. So I am going to stop sharing now, and we are going to move on to Q&A. So I'm looking forward to that. The links will stay in the chat, of course, and any questions that you have either on this presentation or any fear that you are feeling at the moment with your horse that you can't put your finger on, let's talk about it. So I am going to stop sharing. Great. And let's get to questions. Remember, check in with yourself, and pushing through might seem easy in the short term, but it creates a lot more difficulties in the long term. Take care and bye for now. So thanks so much for watching, and I hope this gave you something real to take away, something that you can reflect on with your horse. If it spoke to you, there's more to come. I'll be sharing more free content, tools, and honest conversations here on the channel, all designed to support you as you build trust, clarity, and confidence in your relationship with your horse. So go ahead and subscribe and tap the bell to get notified when the next video drops. And don't forget, if you have any questions or thoughts, I would love to hear them. So just drop them below in the comments. Take care. Bye for now. See you next time.